for the first question, the prompt, I'm just going to read it so I can go off of it for my question, is that what do you think are the top 3 perceptual distortions that employees are most likely to be affected by when forming perceptions of a new manager? Define your answer. So for my response, I think the top 3 perceptual distortions that employees are the most likely to be affected by when forming perceptions of a new manager are the primacy effect, the halo effect, and selective attention. The primacy effect is essentially when someone internally judges someone immediately based on the first known information about them. And this is common sense. You meet someone and without even knowing it, you judge them. I think the primacy effect would be likely to distort the view of a new manager from an employee due to the fact that most impressions we have of people are made in the first 5 to 10 seconds of meeting them. The primacy effect occurs heavily in life itself. And that's what I just said. Our first impressions often determine how we think about that other person. It is no different with an employee first meeting his or her new manager. I kept projecting off my list because I think there is a certain gap between employees and management that results in less projecting than there would have been. And I'm about to go on a little bit of a rant. In our society today, there's a common view that employees are being squeezed for their labor in exchange for a barely livable salary. I think this somewhat has separated management and employees. As a result, I think projecting is less likely in the current job world from the perspective of an employee to a manager. And obviously because the employees feel like they're very different from managers, so they don't feel as similar to them generally. However, in regards to the growing belief of separation between management and employees, that belief is mostly tailored to upper management and employees. Upper management. And it's tailored to upper management because obviously upper management, they make individually they make so much more money than normal employees. It's not really specifically tailored to normal salaried employees because they're not like making a ridiculous amount. They're making an amount like more similar to what an employee would make. Upper management individually makes drastically more than an individual employee. The separation belief doesn't apply so much to normal managers who aren't in upper management because they aren't making insane salaries. I still think, though, that employees are, to a small amount, divided by normal managers just from the large separation belief accidentally being slightly applied to normal salaried managers. And what I mean by this is, obviously with many employees today, they feel separated from upper management because the salaries are so high and employees feel like they're not being paid enough, so they feel like they're being ripped off. But it still applies to normal salaried managers just because technically they're in management, but it's not as heavy it's not as heavy being applied towards them because they're not making like insane salaries. So they're kind of in like a middle zone. I didn't put stereotypes on my list because I think people are generally open-minded when it comes to a new manager. However, I do think stereotypes could form in the new manager scenario where this manager was referred to by someone already known in the company. This is common sense. Now, while some stereotypes about normal salaried managers accidentally come in from the separation belief, as what I just talked about, these are not general and are small in reality. So as a result, I didn't think it had enough reason to be on my list. So that's why I don't have stereotypes on my list, although I talked about it. The halo effect is my next perceptual distortion I have on my list that is likely to affect the perception of a new manager from an employee. I think the halo effect is likely to distort the employee's view of a new manager because we often like someone based upon their character. For example, let's say the new manager is struggling at his or her new job, but they're incredibly nice and courteous with all the employees. Here, most of the employees are going to like this new manager, and many will probably try to be helpful towards him or her. Like people don't want to like dislike people who are just nice. They just don't want to. Additionally, many of these employees won't want to say something bad about the new manager because they all like the new manager. Thus, these employees are likely to have a better impression of the new employee from the halo effect because they think they're better. Their impression is better, is higher than it's artificially higher. The opposite occurs if the manager is rude. Many employees will want to say something bad about the new manager if the manager is rude. This would result in a worse impression of the new manager. And in that scenario, the impression would be artificially lower, not higher. Selective attention is the last perceptual distortion I have on my list that is likely to affect the perception of a new employee. I think selective attention is likely to distort the employee's view of the manager because people tend to associate with those similar. People choose to pay more attention to something or someone of interest. For example, if a new manager conducts a policy that employees agree with, then the manager is likely to get a positive view from the employees. This positive view would likely lead to the new manager having a higher level of impression from the employees because they agree on the same values. To be specific, let's say the new manager agrees with the value of certain employees about working in optional bungee chairs. Like instead of sitting down on a hard chair, they want to sit in bungee chairs. And this manager, he gets management to actually buy the bungee chairs. As a result, the new manager is likely to have a great impression from him or her sharing a similar value from the employees. It's basically similar to the expression of like birds that flock together, stay together. People want to be around people of similar interest. And for my second prompt question that we had listed, it's describe what you could do in a difficult work situation to protect yourself from falling prey to fundamental attribution error. To avoid falling prey to fundamental attribution error in a difficult work situation, I could visualize how I am being looked at and adjust myself to not being looked at in that specific manner anymore. What I mean by this is, for example, if I was slammed with work and behind on a project, an employee or manager could think that I am behind on the project because they think I'm very slow or dumb. I could combat their fundamental attribution error by either telling them I will be behind because I'm slammed with other work, I will be behind because I'm slammed with other work by putting all my non-project work into a large entitled folder that said completed work into the most visible position, or by moving to a different area with people who are also slammed with additional work. Basically, I would just make myself look better, whether it's through improvement or how I'm being seen or the environment. Generally, fixing attribution error comes down to changing the viewed circumstances and changing the environment. To continue, how I could specifically avoid fundamental attribution error for myself. I could ask to work with the person who thinks I'm slow or behind in order to show them that I am not slow or behind, just that I'm very busy. Obviously, I'd work efficiently, and then I'd show them that I'm not slow or behind and that I can do the work fine. And to combat the error, I could also appear the opposite of the listed quality to others outside of the generalizing person. This could make the person with the generalizations realize that because everyone else thinks of me in a certain way, that their assumptions were wrong. Still continuing on how I could combat fundamental attribution error in a difficult work situation, I could show up early for work and leave early for work, and can additionally be promoted to show that I'm a good worker. Doing this would likely make the person who made the generalizations toward me realize that they were wrong, and that I'm not dumb and that I'm a good worker. If possible, I could also talk to a manager or someone higher up in the work hierarchy in front of the person who made negative assumptions about me, just so they would hear what I'm about to say next. If I talk to the manager about the extra work I've been handling in front of the employee who thinks I'm slow, then that employee might have realized that they were wrong. The third question for the prompt is: praise can be a type of positive reinforcement used by managers. List at least 3 additional positive reinforcements that are used in the workplace. Of the reinforcements you list, which do you find the most personally motivating and why? The positive reinforcements I find the most motivating is receiving additional rewards, caring, and of supplementing me with whatever I need. Let me explain. I find receiving additional rewards motivating because it allows employees to actually benefit from doing a good job. In some of these sentences, I'm talking in the third person. Without additional incentives, work wouldn't be as motivating for the employee. Only working to keep your job isn't motivating is actually dreadful. When employees can get some extra incentive, it helps them to progress farther, because then there is actually a work goal that they can aspire to complete that is actually beneficial rather than just keeping their job. While this motivating factor isn't directly caring, it allows for a sense of teamwork and fellowship to develop because of the greater sense of a teamwork structure. While it's important for an organization to care about their employees, it is also important for the organization to provide tangible benefits so that the employee has tangible motivation as well. While caring isn't particular, the next positive reinforcement that I find motivating is of caring. And while caring isn't particular to a positive environment, it still provides for the employee to have a higher morale and a feeling of togetherness. This helps motivate the employee because they are then actually viewed in the organization and are shown a common sense of humanity. Simply, if an employee isn't cared about, then they just feel like a cog in the wheel and that they don't really matter. They also then don't feel any personal connection and fellowship with the organization. I want caring as a structure in a business organization because I want to actually feel involved with my job and my work. I want my work to actually matter and to make a real difference. Additionally, without caring, the organization as a whole dies off, and then more people within the organization don't care as much. I don't want to be in an organization where nobody cares. Nobody cares. There's a lack of passion in the organization that leads to a feeling of dread. Passion and excitement come with caring and only make the experience better. caring also comes with making you feel more alive. No one wants to work in a job where they feel as if they are already dead. That's pretty bad. Another positive reinforcement that I find motivating is of supplementing me with whatever I need. I find this motivating because it is a deeper level of caring to provide actual things. To provide things rather than just saying I care, to actually provide like something more than just saying I care is a deeper level of caring. It's also motivating because it shows verifiable commitment to the work. A manager telling me that whatever I need is mine helps me know that I have trust and commitment from management. It tells me that they think I am fully competent because of the fact that they are going to reasonably give me whatever I deem necessary. Management thinking I am fully competent would only motivate me to work harder and to do a better job. A manager willing to get me whatever I need is also motivating because it shows that management thinks my work is very purposeful, which matters to me. If my job is purposeful, I'm going to likely be more motivated. The trait of a manager getting me whatever I need also brings together a feeling of continuity and a sense of belonging. If a company is willing to get you whatever you need, then you feel a real sense of belonging. This additionally goes beyond the stereotype that it's just a job and that the company doesn't care about you. For my last prompt question is, you join a company where managers regularly reprimand their direct reports in front of others, play favorites, and encourage coworkers to report one another for making small mistakes. Based on Bandura's social cognitive theory, what sort of company culture is likely to spring from these practices? How would a new employee seek to get ahead at such a company, and to what extent would efforts to succeed in this culture directly benefit the company's shareholders? And for my answer for the question, I put, based on Bandura's social cognitive theory, the company culture that is likely to spring from the listed practices is one based on negativity, selfishness, a lack of caring, favoritism, sociopathy, and of the only goal being of pure profit, regardless of how it is done. Because Bandura's social cognitive theory is based on the idea that people copy others within their social context, it makes sense to conclude that their actions are reflective of management and the organization as a whole. Just simply, each manager or employee that was once new to the organization saw how the company culture was then, and then some decided to copy it, which only made the company culture grow. A new employee would seek to get ahead at the listed company by copying the company cultures and mannerisms. Specifically, a new employee could get ahead in the listed company from being selfish, lacking caring, being sociopathic, and of not being remotely fair and just. If a new employee in the listed company copied the customs of management, then management would be more likely to think that the new employee's management potential, since he or her acts just like them. I'd also imagine the job at all cost mentality would be favored for management because the culture seems ruthless and only focused on raw profit rather than on corporate social responsibility. Someone who is very organized and unforgiving might thrive at the listed company also. Efforts to succeed in the listed company's culture would directly benefit the company's shareholders to the extent that the company culture and identity would be strengthened. maybe the listed company is very efficient, and a new employee that is efficient having success would only uphold that the culture and model of the company is successful. Many new employees who are successful in the company as efficient, my apologies. Many new employees who are successful in the company as efficient would likely boost the stock price up, since the company would be operating better. It could also benefit the shareholders because if the company's culture and ideas were successful, it could drag in more investors and an increase in stock price. Basically, if someone, any company, if someone joins the company and they're doing a good job, if there's enough people joining who do a good job, the stock price is gonna go up. Obviously, I don't agree with the company model in the listed example. Just want to clarify that. All right, thank you for listening.